G'day everyone and welcome to the Trekzone Spotlight. Matt Miller with you. Today's guest is the director and writer of Chance Encounter, a Star Trek fan film. It's part of my coverage of fan films done right.
Last year, there was an incident on Melnor 6. Many of the colonists lost everything.
What was that, Lieutenant?
You have stolen a Starfleet vessel.
He knew we couldn't send the ship after him.
You say you used to come here a lot?
Yes, with my wife.
Where is she? He lost someone he loved deeply.
And if he offers resistance?
Why limit our lives to a set path now?
You're young. You'll make mistakes. But what matters is that you follow your instinct and not be led by fear.
It's beautiful. Something to remind us of this place.
And the director and writer Gary O'Brien joins me now from his home in London. Gary, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now, give us a spoiler-free plot summary of Chance Encounter.
Okay. I guess it's a short film, so giving a spoiler-free summary is tough because it's not very long. But basically, we have a love story, but because it has a sci-fi twist, it's not conventional. Although it kind of actually is. We're using sci-fi to help us tell a conventional love story, but from a very unusual perspective. I don't know if that's a plot synopsis or not, but it's a description, if nothing else.
Having seen the short, I definitely think that's a perfect way to describe it.
Oh, good.
Where did your love of Star Trek come from?
I guess just from being a kid. I used to watch it on the TV here. I was about 10, I think, when I know what sort of school I was in, so I can figure out roughly the age. I remember drawing the original series Enterprise on the whiteboard for some reason. So that gave me a pretty good window of when it was that I first got into it. And yeah, I don't know, it's something about that show, isn't it, that we all like. It just, you can't really necessarily explain why you like the show so much, but it just strikes a chord in you somewhere. And yeah, so since I was about 10, I think.
Fantastic. When did you start having ideas for this short film?
I guess about a year ago, because it was probably early 2016, and my friend and co-writer on films, Paul, he and I have made short films in the past. I think this is our 11th one, something like that. And we were just looking to do another short film. We do like one a year or something like that, I guess. And originally this film wasn't a Star Trek film, it wasn't even science fiction. I just had this kind of rough idea about having an older man and a younger woman paired, because I thought that was an unusual pairing. And also generally, I think if you see an older man with a younger woman in a film, sometimes people assume something sinister is going to happen. And so we wanted to play with that idea. But it wasn't sci-fi, it wasn't Star Trek, but we didn't really know what to do with that basic premise. And so Paul kept sort of generating ideas and little drafts of sort of story outlines and ideas. And eventually he did one where he had this science fiction element in it. And then I thought, oh yeah, sci-fi, that maybe could work. And then as it developed, I kind of thought this could actually be a Star Trek film. And I'm a huge Star Trek fan, but I wasn't pushing to do a Star Trek short film. None of our others have been. And I said to Paul, what do you think of that Star Trek thing? Is that a good idea or a bad idea or what? And he was like, no, let's do it. It's cool. So from that point on, it became a Star Trek film. And and then we raised money for it later that year and went for it.
Knowing that it was only about a year ago that the idea started forming, were the guidelines and the whole Axanar saga, did they ever play into your mind about making Chance Encounter?
No, not really, because it was really crazy timing, because the Axanar thing was going on in the background, but we didn't give it much thought really. I think the scale of their production compared to ours, it's just a different kind of thing. We just, we weren't putting too much stock into it. But then it really kind of came to a head. I forget exactly when it was, sort of in this sort of about May or something, I guess, last year, is when the fan guidelines came out. And we were like literally halfway through our Kickstarter campaign. It was like a month-long campaign. It came out halfway through. So we were like, oh man, we should have done this like a year sooner, and then this would all just be not a problem. Because at that point, we didn't really know what would happen. But we were like, well, we've written our script and we're halfway through fundraising now, so let's just commit. And to be fair, most of the guidelines we were kind of in line with anyway, so we just thought, well, it's a bit late now. If they want to sue us, then they can they can go for it. I don't, what can you do?
Was that ever a concern of yours? Being sued, did you sort of feel that there might be something coming down the line, or were you pretty confident knowing that, as you said there, that you were pretty much falling into the guidelines anyway? There might have just been a few tweaks in post as to things that needed to be done? There's a few factors at play with that, because I think, first of all, because also there was that, what is it, John Van Sitters or Critters? Yep,
that
Sitters,
podcast he did, Sitters, yeah. I listened to that podcast where, he was obviously in a position where he's saying, well, we've just brought out these guidelines, but at the same time, I'm kind of trying to let you know that he was in a difficult position. I think, they were saying to him stuff like, so you say 15 minutes, what if you go over 15 minutes? He's like, look, we're not going to, they're guidelines. And I think in all that, he'd said, stuff that's already up online, we're not going to come after retroactively, the kind of grandfathering concept. And we were like, well, we've already started raising money and got our script basically locked before these guidelines came out. So that alone gave us a lot of confidence. And like you say, we were kind of by coincidence in line with a lot of it anyway. And furthermore, in some weird ways, it's kind of more of a risk for the people that were making fan films before the guidelines, because there was no precedent. You couldn't say, well, as long as we stick to these kind of tenets and the broad direction and principle of these rules they've laid out, then we know we will be fine. Whereas in the past, people had no idea what the precedent was or what could or couldn't happen. So in some ways, it's actually cleared it up for us. Who knows? It's a tricky, strange grey area all around, I think. But I think we're quite happy in our position with our little film anyway.
I'm interested to hear your thoughts on something that's been a big bugbear for a lot of the Axanar supporters. And I don't really want to go into the whole in-depth of the case, because that's what my other coverage is for. But they do say that 2 15-minute shorts is not enough time to tell a story, to tell a decent story in the Star Trek universe. What do you think of that?
I think people who might say that are probably fixed on the idea that Axanar was supposed to be a feature-length thing. I'm not a huge fan of the animated series, but I do own the box set and I've watched it all. A lot of those are fan favourites, they're, 22 minutes long? So,
yeah. Yep.
I think if you look at it in that way, then I'd say, yeah, of course you can tell a story. Hopefully we have done. I think our runtime isn't 50, it's more like 20 minutes, our runtime. I hope we've told an okay Star Trek story in 20 minutes, other people can judge that. But I think it just depends what you wanted to do at the start. If you wanted to make a 2-hour movie, then of course you're going to feel that that's not long enough. But, like I said, our idea and our history was making short films. This is in fact our longest one. All our others have been 15 minutes or less. So. Right.
Well, and that's been the thing as well. And something else that John Van Sitters said was that the series idea is out, so the same characters can't continue on for multiple episodes, but there's nothing to say that a storyline couldn't continue for a series, focusing on other characters. So that's something that could be looked at as well, is that you could extend this out to a 2-hour storyline, focusing on different groups of characters. Talking of groups of characters, the best part about Chance Encounter, I think, is that it does pay homage to those classic Trek episodes with not a lot going on action-wise. It's this big story that you're thinking about, and without giving to, as you said in the beginning there, it is a little hard to talk about it without spoiling key moments in the short. But it just works on the level of two people learning about each other, and then we get a nice little sci-fi plot twist. Which is absolutely fantastic, and all the actors did really well. Were they professional actors that you had on set?
Yes, they were, and thank you as well. I'm glad you liked it, and yeah, you're sort of basically one of the first to see it, because it's it's a brand new film, and so I'm kind of unsure what the reaction to it will be. I hope it's good, and you're promising what you say, so thank you for that. But yes, the actors were all professional actors. We didn't know any of them before the film. Before we embarked on the film, I just cast some actors using casting services, and and so hopefully that shows in the fact that their performances are good. They're actors. That's what they do for a living, and so all pro actors.
And was a lot of the planet side stuff filmed on location?
Yes, everything that's on the planet was out on location, which was a pain, frankly. I mean, you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, because if you set your scene inside, then you need some sort of set or some extreme justification why it just looks like a house or something. But on the other hand, if you want to shoot outside, where it's some alien planet that looks a bit Earth-like or California-like, as the tradition would have, then you're stuck with all the complications of being outside, and wind and noise, and losing the light and stuff. So about half of our film was inside and half of it was outside, and there's pros and cons to each on such a low budget.
And did you utilise green screen inside on the interior locations? No, it's all sets. I mean, there's like the odd handful of shots which hopefully roll by quite quick and don't jump out at you. But no, it's for all intents and purposes, it's all shot in camera for real. So not too much green screening in this film. Well, that's absolutely fantastic, Gary. It's a fantastic film. Cannot wait for it to come out on February 1. And hopefully everyone watching will check it out and love it as much as I did.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, and it can be seen, it's on YouTube, and if you go to StarTrekShortFilm.com, then there's links to the film there and a whole bunch of other stuff, and making of and trailers and all that kind of thing. So yeah, StarTrekShortFilm.com, please check it out, and I hope you all like it.
Awesome, Gary. Thanks very much. Everyone, check it out. It is available February 1 at StarTrekShortFilm.com, as Gary said there. Chance Encounter, fan films done right. This is the Trekzone Spotlight. I'm Matt Miller. Thanks so much for watching.